it's time to be honest about Travis Scott. And if we're being honest about Travis Scott right now, I personally believe Travis Scott is the best artist of all time. Like, it's just, come on. I think it's simple math, right? I DM'd you those new stilts you were looking for. Thanks, man.
Alright guys, now you might hate me for making this video, and I hope you brought some ice cubes because this is gonna be a hot take, but with the release of
Nah, bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. We're going head to head on this video, but alright.
Travis Scott's second mixtape, Days Before Rodeo, finally coming to streaming platforms, it's time we finally have this discussion.
Bro, it's not lotion, bro. It's a fucking spray bottle.
Travis Scott's best project, hands down. Now, I know what you're gonna say, oh, Rapaholics, but you know, Rodeo.
Wait, what did you just say? Did you say Days Before Rodeo is his best rap out, or his best album?
Travis Scott's second mixtape, Days Before Rodeo, finally coming to streaming platforms.
Right.
It's time we finally have this discussion. Days Before Rodeo is Travis Scott's best project, hands down.
Cap. Now, it is an amazing project in my opinion, but me personally, I believe, and it's going to sound like Glaze, Rodeo and Astroworld are head to head as far as his best, like, solid albums. Bird Sing McKnight, beautiful album. A lot of people don't like it though because it was more experimental, but I love that album. So I think it's Rodeo, Astroworld, Bird Sing McKnight, Days Before Rodeo, and all his other fucking albums and singles and all that are all like right there because they're all just so fucking amazing.
Now, I know what you're gonna say, oh, Rapaholics, but you know, Rodeo exists and Astroworld exists.
Oh my God.
Now, if you existed in 2014, 2015, you know that Days Before Rodeo is where all of this started.
I did though, that's the thing. That's why, like, I'm literally Travis Scott. All right, never mind. Let me stop the Glaze. But I've been fighting with Travis Scott for so long now. Okay. I have the IQ of a OG Travis Scott fan. I'm just stating the facts here.
A lot of ways could be argued as Travis Scott's best project, so let's jump into all the reasons why.
There's a lot of little
now that guy's like 6'3".
both of their disses that if it wasn't for these breakdowns and salute to, you know, guys like this, Rapaholics, because I think they directly get it.
So first of all, this is where Travis Scott truly elevated his sound to a higher level. This is when he became the Travis Scott that we know today.
Utopia was also very good, but I think, me personally, there's a few songs on there that just can't compete with other songs off his other albums.
Days Before Rodeo introduced us to this whole new soundscape of not only just psychedelic trap production, but also these vocal techniques where Travis used autotune to paint this beautiful, drugged out, hypnotic symphony.
It's a beautiful album, bro. Don't get me wrong. Days Before Rodeo is a beautiful fucking album.
Using them almost like an instrument, creating these energetic, alien-type voices. And this whole aesthetic and every new sound Travis Scott introduced on Days Before Rodeo opened the door for everything he did afterwards. But that doesn't necessarily matter, right? Because a lot of times you could say one artist kicked down the door for the other, but the other became much greater, did bigger things, and surpassed their predecessor, right? Like Days Before Rodeo Walk.
Low-key, Jack Boy's his best album because it's shorter than the rest. All right.
So Rodeo could run. And a lot of people say that Rodeo is his best album, which in my opinion is the only album we can make an argument as being better than Days Before Rodeo.
Hello?
But we have to remember, Days Before Rodeo is so overlooked because we never had it on streaming platforms. A much larger audience was able to sit and live with Rodeo, and for that reason, it went on to be remembered as this trap classic that influenced the next generation of hip-hop. But it not only couldn't exist without the styles that Travis Scott created on Days Before Rodeo, but it also, in my opinion, doesn't execute these styles as well as Days Before Rodeo does.
Because they two different types of albums. That's the whole thing. Like, Days Before Rodeo is like more, I mean, he said it in damn self as an alienated type of album. Rodeo was just, he perfected what he needed to and moved on from a different style. That's just my take.
For example, the hypnotic, drugged-out, auto-tune-drenched, spacey hooks that
and
we get on Nightcrawler or Oh My This Side couldn't exist without the melodies Travis Scott created on Quintana Part 2. You could make the debate that his ability to structure a complete song had improved by the time we got to Rodeo, and maybe Nightcrawler is a better
such a good song
than Quintana 2, but that was the beauty of Days Before Rodeo. It wasn't supposed to sound polished or perfect or larger than life. It was supposed to be this raw,
gonna take all
unhinged, dark...
Bro, this video's like 10 minutes long, bro.
Experimental blends of drugs, chaos, auto-tune, and outer space melodies, and in the process, it inspired an entire soundscape of hip-hop. And forget the energetic records. You want to praise Travis Scott's more laid-back, emotional records on Rodeo like 90210 or Pray for Love? Well, Days Before Rodeo executes on that style way better with Drugs You Should Try It.
With you pausing is 20 minutes, all right.
Because it wasn't on streaming platforms. The size of the audience that was able to live with that song was limited.
Bauer,
I guarantee you now that it exists on Spotify and Apple
He's the greatest artist in U.S. history.
You Should Try It will become a massive hit. Like, I've shown this project to my 20-year-old cousin who was in like 7th grade when Birds in the Trap came out. And Birds was his introduction to Travis, and he looks at Travis as a GOAT just because of what Travis has done for his generation of hip-hop. But he grew up in the streaming era. He had never heard Days Before Rodeo, and just seeing his reaction to some of these records...
Don't forget the soundboard. He has to add every 5 words. That's an extra 5 minutes per.
shows you how influential and strong this project is. I'm jealous of all these kids who are going to hear this album for the first time in 2024. And there's just so many things about this album that make it Travis Scott's best project. We can talk about the features. Like, the features didn't sound like just regular feature performances where the artist spits a 16 and then leaves. Travis used these guests on the project the same way Kanye West has done in the past. They're there to elevate the experience of the record. They fit the vibe of whatever record they're on. They complement Travis.
I don't think there was no bad features on any of his albums, honestly.
Features of Thug's career, Quavo's career, or even Rich Homie Quan or Big Sean's career. Then we could talk about Travis Scott's own performances. Besides what I was saying earlier about how he introduced this innovative, new, drugged-out style of harmony with auto-tune on songs like Quintana 2 or Jugs You Should Try It. And
Tupac better, can't change my mind.
Deliveries he gave us on those two records. But aside from that, Travis Scott also gave us some of his best rapping performances of his career on songs like Don't Play, The Prayer, Backyard, and he gave us some of his best hooks on songs like Mamacita or Skyfall. Some of the best production we've heard from
those are some good-ass songs,
came from Days Before Rodeo, whether it's the bouncy, synth-heavy production on Quintana 2, which, if you guys
best song on Rodeo is I Can Tell, 100%.
Was actually originally supposed to be a Kanye West track. We could also talk about
Wasted. I like Wasted a lot.
Drugs You Should Try It, or the dark trap Metro Boomin production on Skyfall, which features this slow, almost dragging rhythm that just enhances the feeling of being pulled into like a drugged out, introspective journey. Also, if you're around to witness the making of Skyfall, then you know how legendary of a record this is.
I Can Tell Your 5'8" is a good one.
Metro Boomin in the studio recording this song live, and as they make tweaks to it and go back and listen to it, as they hear the beat build up with Travis delivering that menacing hook, just seeing their reaction as they dance in the studio as the beat builds up shows you how much passion and emotion went into creating a record like this. And I think that passion that Travis had earlier on,
Facts, or Skeletons. I like Skeletons a lot off of Astro World.
He is still very fixated on creating these incredible psychedelic
best song Utopia is Fiend. All right, leave.
However, I don't think the hunger or that same energy that he had when he was creating Days Before Rodeo exists on an album like Utopia or even Astro.
My man is calling y'all. I gotta go. God bless. Goodbye, watching
hits and a very polished project versus creating a one-of-a-kind, never-heard-before experience. And he emphasized this back in 2014 when he tweeted out what the true meaning of a song like Skyfall was. When he raps, "I don't want to buy no more, your stuff isn't getting me high no more," he's not necessarily talking about bad drugs from his plug. It's a metaphor for hip-hop music. He's saying he doesn't resonate with the type of music that the previous generation is making, and he's trying to kick down that door and create something
just came up in your line.
Gets people high again, that restores that feeling that you get when you hear something new, fresh, experimental, innovative. And that's exactly what he was delivering on Days Before Rodeo.
They was working on No Bystanders here, bro. Beautiful song as well.
Because it strikes a perfect balance between raw experimentation
raw energy.
and
I like that.
Artistry. Compared to any other Travis Scott project, Days Before Rodeo is leaner, it's more focused. Each track feels essential, contributing to the overall narrative and vibe. And I'd argue it's his only project without any filler. I'm sorry, but 90210 is definitely a filler track off Rodeo.
What?
I'm joking.
What?
I'm joking.
Okay.
Don't kill me in the comments. But Flying High is definitely a filler off Rodeo. Yeah, again,
bro, Flying High is so fire.
That Days Before has over Rodeo is that not only did it lay the groundwork for Rodeo to be what it is today, however, the highs are higher. There's no track like Drugs You Should Try It on a Rodeo. Travis, in my opinion, delivers better hooks on Days Before Rodeo on songs like Skyfall or Mamacita. His uses of auto-tune on records like Drug You Should Try It or Quintana 2 are much better than anything we heard off of Rodeo. I mean, just go look up Travis Scott 2015 Quintana 2 performance live.
You think Gray's better than Drugs You Should Try It, bro?
That third part of Quintana 2, like, I don't know, man. After watching that, I can't argue that there's a better use of auto-tune on any Travis Scott record. I do think Rodeo is a more polished project. I think it maybe has more good records than Days Before Rodeo, if that makes sense grammatically. But I say that because it's a longer project than Days Before Rodeo. Days Before Rodeo, in my opinion, has no filler. It's where it all started. His auto-tune usage is better.
That mask was so fire, bro.
The production is more experimental. The features are better.
You cracked out your mom.
Rodeo is the only project that I could say makes a debate for being a better project than Days Before Rodeo. Now, when we compare
World 100%
Days Before
does,
Rodeo
bro.
to Birds in the Trap, it's not even a question. Days Before is far superior in its raw energy, its innovation.
My favorite song on Days Before Rodeo is Zombie. My favorite song on Rodeo is Apple Pie. My favorite song on Astro World is No Bystanders, and my favorite song on Utopia is Thank Goes.
Best Travis Scott song of all time is Fiend. Why? Because I'm homosexual.
Birds
Alright.
in the Trap leans more into the melodic, atmospheric side.
Domo,
of
don't get no
Travis
weird
Scott's
ideas, my
sound,
nigga.
but it often feels more polished, almost too smooth, too commercially accessible. The lyrics and flows are too watered down. Birds features a lot of what we heard before from Travis, but we heard it better in the past. The experimentation, the diverse soundscapes, and unique uses of autotune that gave Days Before Rodeo its character are now
I'll tell you all
sounded
my favorite
down
songs
by
off
the
each
team who
album
makes
after
Birds.
this.
This makes Birds a lot more accessible commercially,
I'm not
but
recording
it also
flipping,
makes it
bro.
a much
Alright,
less
bet.
impactful project. Days Before Rodeo has an unpredictability to it, a sense that Travis Scott is still experimenting, still pushing boundaries. This gives it an energy and liveliness that Birds in the Trap sometimes lacks. I will give Birds credit, though, of having, in my opinion, one of Travis Scott's best hooks of all time with Goosebumps. I know that song is overplayed, but come on, the first time you heard that record, you
Oh my
can't
god.
tell me that.
No, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I be playing like Goosebumps all the time, bro. And the reason why is actually I'll show y'all after this. I'll show y'all the concert I went to and exactly how I experienced it, so y'all can see exactly why I love the song so much more than I do, or I did previously.
Hook didn't blow you away, no diddy. But then we get to
What?
Astroworld, which is arguably Travis Scott's most ambitious project. See, it's a concept album that aims for a grand cinematic experience, and while it largely succeeds in that, it's also where Travis Scott's strengths become double-edged. Astroworld is meticulously crafted with a high level of detail in the production and sound design, but this polish can sometimes detract from the raw, unfiltered creativity that defined his earlier work.
The
like
greatest
Days
song
Before
of all
Rodeo.
time.
The mixtape feels more
Shit,
organic,
it's up
more
there.
in the moment, while Astroworld feels like a carefully planned ride, and Days Before Rodeo feels like a wild, unexpected journey. That unpredictability is what makes it more thrilling, and aside from that, Travis Scott just sounded more inspired lyrically and vocally, in my opinion, on Days Before Rodeo. The production on Days Before Rodeo is another area where it shines over his other projects. While Travis's later
I feel
work
like on Days
features
Before
top
Rodeo, he still had that hunger to find something, just like to create something beautiful, and I think that's exactly what he did. But he hasn't stopped doing that till this day. So like,
production, they
shit. Sorry. Let me repeat myself. He hasn't stopped doing that till this day.
also carry a level of expectation and refinement.
The
Days
link I
Before
sent?
Rodeo
Oh, yeah, you're
captures
right.
Travis at a point where he was still
Totally forgot about that.
experimenting with his sound. He wasn't afraid to take risks. The beats are gritty, the transitions are seamless, the overall atmosphere is darker.
Hey,
and more intense
send it
than his
again.
later work.
I can't find
The
it.
mixtape is a blend of haunting melodies, booming 808s, and intricate, layered beats that push the boundaries of traditional hip hop. Tracks like Mamacita and Quintana 2 have a rawness that you don't quite find in the polished production of an
Bro, Sloppy
Astroworld
Sloppy's
or
fire.
Birds. And in terms of rapping performances, Days Before Rodeo showcases Travis at his most energetic and hungry. His verses are sharp, his flows are varied, and he
All right.
manages to balance the melodic aspects of his style with hard-hitting bars. In later projects, his rapping often takes a backseat to the production and the overall vibe of the record, but on Days Before Rodeo, his rapping, his lyricism, his bars are front and center. Days Before Rodeo is also Travis taking hip-hop out of the palms of old heads, bringing a completely new sound to the forefront, and simultaneously inspiring the next generation. On Quintana 2, when he raps "Rob my plug, he wasn't getting me high no more," he's not talking about robbing his drug dealer. He's talking about older heads not hitting the same way they used to. And him
What the fuck? Pause. What?
hijacking that sound by taking over the game with his new sound. Like I mentioned before,
Bauer,
he
do you
confirmed this
actually
when
like
he explained
Fiend?
how the song Skyfall is about old dope, which is a metaphor in this case for music not hitting the same. And Days Before Rodeo was the project that opened the door for this monumental run that Travis was able to have after it. Again, people will hear this for the first time now and realize how amazing of a project it is. And I'm calling it
Fiend
now.
is
I think
nowhere
this will be
near
the
one of his
first
best
mixtape
songs.
to do 100K in the first week, 10 years after its first release. I think the biggest reason why we don't consider this project a classic is because it was never on streaming platforms. Therefore, not
Bro,
a large
Cardi,
enough audience was
actual
able to
Cardi
live with this
Glaze.
and sit with it for the past 10 years. As a result, it's overlooked and people don't realize the impact that it had on Travis's later work and basically this entire new generation.
Thank God it's the best
of
song off the album. I completely disagree.
artists. It's also his only project with no skips, and it features his best showcases of production, auto-tune use, hooks, melodies, and even bars, arguably. Ultimately, Days Before Rodeo is superior because it captures the essence of Travis Scott before he became a superstar. It's an authentic,
Facts.
unfiltered look at an artist who was on the verge of greatness, still willing to take risks and still finding his voice. That
Word.
raw, unpolished energy is what makes it his best work. It's a perfect balance of experimentation with accessibility, and it's a snapshot of an artist who was on the brink of stardom, fully in control of his sound and vision, and unafraid to take risks. And if you're still
the
not
Fortnite
convinced, then
concert?
let me know in the comments why you think Days Before Rodeo is not Travis Scott's best work. When was
Okay, I definitely see what he's saying now, but I still think Rodeo and Astroworld are his two number ones if they could both take the same spot. Check West should have been kept on Fiend. I totally agree, bro. His verse was so hard. Cause like if y'all have ever been to a concert, like you know like how crazy music sounds live. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look, so this is what I saw. This is the actual concert I went to, bro. Bro. Oh my god. Bro. Look, you'll hear it, bro. This part right here, bro. Bro, hearing that live, you could like feel it inside of you. Pause. But like you really could. It was amazing. Pause. All right. Sorry. Look at Chase B, man. So inspirational. What do you mean, what the fuck? Like I said, screenshot this. But y'all know the song, bro. But it was just such an amazing moment.